Welcome to our quilt chat with friends. Today I am talking with Ashli Montgomery of Quilt2EndALZ. She is a multi-talented woman, a wife to a college football coach, mother to two beautiful college-age kids, a yoga instructor, a quilting educator, and a passionate advocate for those living with and around a debilitating disease. During our February look at quilting for charity, I was interested in learning more about how Ashli is combining these two passions, quilting and advocacy. Let's just start with your quilting journey, Ashli. Tell us when you started quilting and, how you got involved with the fabric arts.
Well, I started quilting in 1998, a few months after my son was born. And he was born, he had a few complications. He was actually born a week late, but he had some complications and had to stay in the NICU. And after that visit, the doctor recommended that he not go out and about until he had had his 2-month immunizations. So during that time, my mom was encouraging me to get out of the house and told me, just go find something to do this afternoon. I'm going to stay home. You need to go breathe. And I found myself at our local quilt store in my hometown where I had grown up. I'd been in there over the years with my mom and my grandmother whenever they were doing crafts or projects, but I'd never just really looked for myself. And when I was browsing the store that day, they had a sign that a beginning quilting class was starting that evening. And it met for 4 weeks, once a week for 4 weeks. And it was all done by hand, which was good because I didn't own a sewing machine. And so I called mom and I said, hey, I think I'm going to do this if that's okay. And she's like, absolutely, stay. And it was a 4-block sampler. And so we got to learn several different techniques. And I had so much fun with it. But by the time we finished our 4 weeks of classes, my son was healthy enough to be out and about. My husband's a football coach and the football season was starting, and life kind of took over, a young family and a newborn and all the things that go with it. So I finished piecing that project, but 22 years later, I'm still working on the hand quilting. So I haven't even finished my very first project yet.
Oh my goodness, what a story. But those hand quilting projects definitely take some dedication. So I
Yeah,
can see how that will, when it eventually gets done, it's got quite a story.
it
Um,
is.
so then how did Quilt to End Alzheimer's start?
Was quilting, mostly for gifts, doing a lot of baby quilts for families on our football staff. And I noticed two things at one time. I was sharing a lot of the quilt blocks that I was doing for a countdown to Christmas quilt along through Moda. And anytime that I commented that I was using fabric that had been passed down from my grandmother who died of Alzheimer's, or I was thinking I was going to put this quilt together and use it as a raffle to raise money for Alzheimer's, or anything that even brought Alzheimer's into the conversation of why I was making that quilt block, I was noticing all the people that were commenting and had Alzheimer's story within the quilt community. And while that was taking place, I have become very active with the Alzheimer's Association. And I was deciding what I wanted to do for a campaign they call the Longest Day. And that's an opportunity for individuals to pick an activity they love doing and to honor Alzheimer's during that activity. So I had done some other things and helped other people with their longest day campaigns. And I decided that I was going to do something with quilting. I didn't know what it was going to be. So the longest day is always on the summer solstice. So it's around June 20th, June 21st every year. And I knew that I was going to quilt, but this was in November of 2018. And I had to register if I wanted to get the free t-shirt. So I had to name my event and I didn't know what to name it. So I named it Quilt2EndALZ with the thought that I was just going to do this one day event once a year. And I was sharing that with my family and they really encouraged me to do a little more with it. And then I was sharing it with a good friend who is an estate attorney, and she's also a quilter, and she's also an advocate for Alzheimer's. And she said, listen, I know what all these things look like, Ashli, and you're going to be spending a lot of time and a lot of money. Quilting is not inexpensive. And if you're going to be donating everything that you make, you need to at least have some tax break and have an opportunity to, to have some of the benefits of being a 501c3. And so the idea, it was one of those ideas that keep you up at night. Like you just can't sleep because you have all these ideas of what you want to do with this project. And that's really what happened to me. So over Christmas of 2018, I shared it with all the women in my family, my mom, my older sister, her two daughters, my daughter, and my sister-in-law. And I said, I just feel called that this is what I need to be doing. My daughter was a senior in high school. We were about to be empty nesters. I thought if I want to be quilting more in my new schedule of being in charge of my own time, and I feel very called to continue my advocacy for Alzheimer's, this is a way that I can put those two passions together. So on January 21st, in honor of my grandmother's birthday, we launched Quilt2EndALZ Incorporated.
Oh, that's so awesome that it really does enable you to merge those two passions and interests in a meaningful way. I know a lot of quilters do put so much meaning into their quilts, and to be able to honor your grandmother and help other people with those endeavors, that's really, really neat.
Yeah, there's a lot of overlap. I guess I figured there would be, because Alzheimer's disease affects women in higher numbers than men. 2/3 of those diagnosed with Alzheimer's are women, and 2/3 of all caregivers are women. And I always say we have incredibly talented male quilters. By and large, it is a female industry. And so there's a lot of overlap just with the demographic. But on top of that, quilters typically quilt to give, and people who are givers at heart are your caregivers.
So let's talk a little bit more about Alzheimer's specifically. And I know education and awareness are important in fighting any disease, and Alzheimer's especially. What is happening now in terms of the science and the fight to end this disease?
So we are seeing some really good strides. And historically, Alzheimer's and dementia was a disease that people were embarrassed by. They were embarrassed when their family members had it. So it had a large stigma with it. And people really wanted to hide their loved ones or tuck them away to take care of them. And what you were saying about awareness is huge. As far as research goes, we're just on the cusp of finding some breakthroughs. And right now, there are 4 different drugs, three classes of one and one class of another, that are prescribed to help manage the symptoms, but we don't have a treatment for Alzheimer's. We don't have a cure for it at this moment in time. And so we're really putting a lot of emphasis on finding that. And the most promising drugs are the ones that treat it earlier in the progression of the disease. Sure. And so one really incredible focus area is research on biomarkers and finding ways to test, maybe a blood test or things like that, that can diagnose the disease much earlier, so that the drugs that we are seeing promise in have a better ability to work. And
that's encouraging. So tell us a little bit how quilting is helping in that fight. Are you just trying to raise funds? What does that look like with the intersection with your nonprofit?
Yeah, so I say that Quilt2EndALZ is attacking Alzheimer's from 3 different directions. The first one is creating awareness. Again, what we are doing today, and when I have an opportunity to speak to quilt guilds and organizations or guest blog, any kind of partnership that gets people understanding that Alzheimer's is something that we need to learn more about, that is very impactful. Engagement on social media, those are all things that people can do and learn from with no big commitment. And then we're also helping reduce the risk that quilters have, because quilting itself reaches 4 of the 10 ways to love your brain. So the first one that it helps with is called buddying up, which is just staying social, being engaged in your local quilt guild, or going by and visiting your friends at the local quilt shop, or sewing with the ladies cookies from your church, or attending when we get to go back out and do quilt shows and markets and things like that. So just being out and about, being social, being with other people, that interaction, we know that that helps reduce our risk of Alzheimer's disease. The next one is called hitting the books. And that's really just a reminder that lifelong learning continues to build the neural pathways in our brain. And if we quit learning, our brain quits developing. And so Alzheimer's disease, the different science behind it, basically the cells in the neural pathways are attacked and they die. And if we are continuing to build new pathways, that when Alzheimer's disease attacks one, we've created two more. And so it's not that you can not have the disease, it's that you can live with less impact and longer with the disease. And so lifelong learning is important. I love learning new techniques and challenging ourselves, which is the third way to reduce risk. And for me, quilting is always challenging. I love every minute of it, but even the patterns that I do over and over again, I keep my seam ripper handy. I love trying new rulers, new cutting techniques, new pressing techniques. So we're always challenging ourselves, either to figure out a new pattern or to find a better, more efficient way. And so just going through those challenges and problem solving, those are all really good for our brain. And then the fourth way that quilting helps reduce risk is what I call mending the mind. And our mental health is extremely important in the fight to end Alzheimer's disease. And the mental health epidemic is at an all-time high in America, and I think in the entire world. And so for me, quilting is very therapeutic, and I think it is for most quilters. If I've had a really rough day or a rough week, or things just, the world feels pretty heavy, I can take a break and go browse the quilt store. And just being around the fabrics and being around other quilters, that really helps calm my nerves. Or if I'm frustrated about something, I can sit down to my machine and just sew and sew and sew, and it has a beautiful calming effect on my mind. Or even just refocusing. I'm going to go cut a new project and I have to pay attention to the directions. And so it takes my mind off whatever was stressing or causing me mental discomfort. And so those four ways are really impactful, and they're great activities to help fight Alzheimer's disease and reduce our risk. And then the third way that we're attacking Alzheimer's disease through Quilt2EndALZ is fundraising to support caregivers, to support education, advocacy and public policy, as well as research. And I'm really unique in that I have two specific audiences. I have quilters, and so we definitely want to make sure that we're marketing to them and having ways that they can purchase products that help support our mission. Those are going to be patterns and kits and fabrics and events, things like that. But I also have an audience of people who may not sew, but they absolutely love quilting and they love what we're doing. So on our website, you'll also find finished projects, merchandise, different things like that that maybe a non-quilter can enjoy purchasing or wearing. And honestly, our audience really just participating with us and sharing with their sphere of influence that, I don't quilt, but here's an opportunity. If you quilt or you have a friend or a family member who does, here's a neat thing I want to connect you to. And so just raising funds and building awareness and reducing risk. And so it's really important to me that people understand that this is a nonprofit. So when I went through the process of establishing it as a 501c3, I did a lot of research on percentages and what you need for overhead cost and what is a good number. So 80% of everything we do at Quilt2EndALZ, whether it's a speaker's fee or it's an event fee or it's merchandise or quilts that you purchase on the website, 80% of everything we do goes directly back to benefit the fight to end Alzheimer's.
That's fantastic. How people can get involved. Is it more important when you have a big national cause like Alzheimer's? That's, obviously a worldwide disease affecting people around the globe, but we're focused here in the United States. Is it better for people to get involved in something like this at their local level, and what can they do there, or just send the money to the national organization because it's going to do good at that level?
Yeah, so I feel like, and I, for my own personal giving, I do a lot of work with the Alzheimer's Association. It is the largest advocate to end Alzheimer's disease, works directly hand in hand with the United States government. And one of the reasons that I'm such a proponent of what they do is that they only accept open source research. So one of the things that slows down research, cancer research or heart research, all of these things, is that people don't share their findings. So you might have someone here in the United States who's working on a concept, and someone in Australia is doing the same concept, and someone in China is doing the same concept, and there's no connection. And so 3 times the amount of money is being put in instead of people sharing their findings. And the Alzheimer's Association only supports research that's completely open sourced. So everything has to be shared, and that's how we're speeding up the process of discovery. So I really feel like not only do they have the ear of the government, but they're also doing this. Their saying is that they are trying to work themselves out of a job. They want there to be no Alzheimer's, so there's no need for an Alzheimer's association. And so it is easy to give in that way, because I do feel like it is a safe and guaranteed return on investment when you give to the Alzheimer's Association. Now then, we have chapters all over the country. So it's really fun to get involved with your local community. And that could be through the Alzheimer's Association, through events like the Longest Day we were talking about, or the Walk to End Alzheimer's. There are also fun ways to get involved in your local community. Your sewing group could contact a memory care facility and ask how they could sew and make things like fidget blankets, or blankets for the beds, or throws to help cover people when they're in their wheelchairs. There are a lot of things like that that you could do. So there are certainly things that you can do within your extreme local community. There are things you can do in your region, and then there are things that you can do nationally. And then from the comfort of your home, if you follow things on social media, or if you receive blogs or emails sharing those things, I mean, that's, we're all as businesses in 2021, we're all fighting the algorithms, right? And so we're all saying, how can someone see this important message that it's the 10-year anniversary of NAPA, or that we really need help letting Congress know that we want this funding increase, or all of these things. And simply by sharing or forwarding an email or reposting something on social media, there's strength in numbers. And so there are so many ways that we can give to this cause without really having to do anything beyond play on our computer or our phone. And then there are opportunities for advocacy at the state and national level. So once you jump in, there are lots of ways to become involved.
You've given us some great suggestions, Ashli, for things that we can do. Like you said, very easy to share a post or an email on the computer, and then take a walk outside. That's always a great idea. And definitely sewing. Bringing it back to quilting, do you have any projects you'd like to show us?
Oh, I do actually. I have one right behind me. So I mentioned that I'm trying to do more collaborating, and that's kind of my focus. We launched in 2019, and I swear I spent the whole year just establishing a nonprofit and getting the business up and running. And then I thought at the end of that year, I thought I didn't even get to do any quilting this year. And so my whole focus for 2020 was to go visit guilds, and then the pandemic hit. And so I kind of restructured, went through the patchwork program, and really kind of tried to redefine and ways to get the word out and to share our mission is to engage with more quilters. And so one way that we're doing that is collaborations. So one of the collaborations that we're doing is called Marquee Designer Series. And we're partnering with quilt designers, and they create and donate an exclusive pattern just for Quilt2EndALZ. And then we make that as a digital download, as a paper product that you can purchase to have the pattern and the instructions. And then we also put it together as a kit so that you can recreate our sample. So on March 1st, this is the first time anyone's seen this. I haven't even posted this to social media yet, but on March 1st, a dear and talented quilter here in Tulsa, Oklahoma, her name's Teresa Marler, she created an applique, a raw edge applique pattern called Forget Me Not. And this is a little sample of what this quilt looks like. And it has these adorable elephants on parade. And it's like a patchwork quilt with 10 applique elephants. They've got these cute little pink hearts coming out. And she has a phenomenal story. And she created this pattern and this quilt honoring some women in her life that had died of Alzheimer's disease.
That looks wonderful. I have not done a lot of applique just because, like you said, it takes a little more time, and I'm very much more instant gratification. So I stick with a lot of those projects that you can just do straight piecing and be done. But those elephants are adorable. So we will definitely be looking for that soon.
I would love to connect, whether that's through emails, anyone who's going through a struggle, especially an Alzheimer's or dementia struggle with a loved one or with oneself. They're not alone. There are people that support them, that are here for them, that can help them find answers to questions. And that's what I really want to be for the quilting community.
Well, you've done a great job so far, so hopefully we can get some more people involved. I will be looking forward to more information about the longest day, because any excuse to quilt all day is a good good thing in my book. So
I'm really excited about our longest day event. We're going to do a full day sew in, and we've got a quilt pattern that we're going to be releasing that day, and it's part of the participant fee is to receive this. And we're going to have some breakout sessions. We're going to be sending out recipes and grocery lists so that everyone can share their favorites and what we're doing that day. And I think it's just going to be a ton of fun and a great opportunity to enjoy your quilting community.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much. And I hope we can all come together in support of your efforts to Quilt2EndALZ. Thank you so much, Ashli.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining our discussion of quilting and charity work. Please leave a comment below with how you use your quilting to support your favorite charity. If you are looking for some easy quilt patterns that you can use for charity quilts, check out the next video. Thanks for watching.